very young woman who was doing everything she could in order to be part and parcel of us ukuqhuba lo msebenzi lo onzima. So laba bafuna ukukhola ngokubona, I'm sure bayabona every time i-data ne-information. Uma sibheka inani labantu in Europe, sibheka inani labantu e-Africa, kuyasho ukuthi impela sisempini ene lempi le ayona lempi ezodependa kumasotsha akhishiwe anikezwa izikhali ukuthi ayolwa. Yimpi engena ngendlela eziningi. Ngakho ke isicelo sethu si-social development ke gore re kopela hore kaofela batho ba mo South Africa, especially batho ba rona ba bagolo, because ke bona who are easily affected. Speech of President Cyril Ramaphosa, which he delivered to the nation on Tuesday in the evening, April 21st. By the way, that happened to be my birthday, but I never saw it. I don't know what happened. Will certainly be among the most memorable and humanity's response to the novel 2019 coronavirus disease pandemic. Equally, that speech of the president provided by the president on the 27th, after that, on the 27th, where we're celebrating our National Day in a new way of doing it, which is the cause of Freedom Day, was profound in relation to the new society we need to become. To elaborate in context of that, what the president said, the president in his speech of the 27th of April, the president framed South Africa's fight against COVID as a collective societal mission. And that makes a great impact for us, particularly as a Department of Social Development, because our responsibility as a department is to ensure the well-being of all South Africans. The president summons every South African to rise to the challenge of protecting our collective interest and well-being, especially where this concerns the country's senior citizens, women, youth, and persons with disability in our respective communities. In the context of the announcement, the announcing government's COVID-19 economic and social investment measures built to be 500 billion, President Ramaphosa defined South Africa's national mission as follows, and I quote, "The scale of this emergency relief program is historic. It demonstrates that we will not spare any effort or any expense in our determination to support our people and protect them from harm. We will and we must do whatever it takes to recover from this human, social, and economic crisis. Our country and the world we live in will never be the same. We are resolved not merely to return our economy, and may I add our society, to where it was before the coronavirus, but to forge a new economy in a new global reality." Close quote. The president further elaborates on Africa's biggest fight against COVID as a national mission in our economy and society. Therefore, as a Department of Social Development, of course, working with all the other departments, because we cannot do this mission alone. Noting this mission, the Department of Social Development will deliver unprecedented developmental and sustainability enhancing social relief and social revitalization program. Why do I raise the issue of sustainability and developmental? It is simply because as a department, we feel that COVID is here. We have to do everything we can to fight it, but also we must be conscious of the fact that there will be post-COVID. And therefore, everything that we do now, we must make sure that we sustain our programs. And why do I say that also? We know that there's a special fund that has been announced by the president. And our view is that from now until October, 6 months down the line, our people are going to ask us, yes, thank you very much for that period that you did something to support us, but what about the future? It is for that reason that we speak about developmental, we speak about sustainability. So, through these programs, we want to, one, intensify the department and SASSA's hunger targeting food and nutrition distribution programs, upscaling existing programs and innovating new and responsive ones through partnership that target and mitigate the growing COVID-19 induced human and social calamity. Gazetting directions that will enable the department and its portfolio to develop, administer, and implement the relevant program eligibility criteria and benefits. This for us is very important. Systematically and efficiently designing program targets and building wastage and misappropriation management mechanisms into that, because you know that already, fortunately, we have responded also positively to the portfolio committee, which is already doing its oversight. We've already had a meeting with them where we presented our programs as social development and enable the portfolio committee to do its oversight. We don't want them to wait until at the end to do their oversight. They are doing their oversight already now. One of the provinces they visited already is the province of Gauteng, and they were satisfied with a lot of work, but they also raised issues of concern, which we hope that the province of Gauteng will also be able to deal with. Strengthen COVID-19 targeted partnership with private, civic, including NPOs and academic research and multilateral partners, and factoring the need for including social development infrastructure into the forthcoming infrastructure build program. This is especially noteworthy within the context that the President mentioned that South Africa's economic recovery strategy requires of us to intensify infrastructure build interventions during the post-lockdown and post-pandemic period. We want to say to our beneficiaries at home, you also must contribute towards the growth of our economy. We do not want to be a department that is only known for consumption. We also want to be a department of trying to assist our people to appreciate that there are things that they can do in order to improve their lives, and that even the resources that are given to them as a social safety net by government is not adequate. If you talk, for instance, about the 350 that we are talking about, people will think, you know, they've got a lot of money, they can run around with it. It is not possible. It is not a lot of money. So we want to be part and parcel of the economic growth of South Africa, but not only being on the consumption side, but also being part and parcel of the production side. South Africa's fight against COVID is a society-wide mission because it, one, at a societal scale, challenges each and every one of us to change our old behavioral patterns and learn new ones, including practical social distancing and following hygiene protocols, which include regular washing of our hands with soap for at least 20 seconds and wearing a mask. Sizobe siyiphinda lento yokuthi kufuneka senze njani emakhaya ukuze nathi sizikhusele from i-COVID lena. So sizobe lokhu siphinda leyo nto leyo. Calls for thought out before innovation in a variety of sectors, including health, science, IT, and through entrepreneurship. Ask the social development sector to assume a long-term vision of the assumption that underlie its program design, outcomes, and impact generation towards the post-pandemic South Africa, and demands societal, regional, and global responses that combine a shared sense of societal direction, the need to unlock closed and monopolized economic spaces, radical and incremental innovations, unleashing of domestic and regional technological, cultural, and endowments. We are talking about doing things for South Africans, by South Africans, for South Africans, so that your small and medium enterprises also get an opportunity to grow here. And I speak of this not because I was a Minister of Small Business Development, but because the Department of Social Development itself believes that we must be able to contribute towards that. I want now to deal directly with the areas of our work in terms of this period, and I will start with the food and nutrition programs. I have been having regular meetings with the MECs for social development, one of which I had also this morning, for us to make sure that we work together and we have a coordinated approach. I wish to thank the MECs of all the provinces. I've worked very well with them, and we've been able to talk to each other and see what can be done. At this point, I not only want to thank the MECs, I also want to thank their staff and my staff who are doing the coordination. Our heartfelt prayers go out to the family of one of our staff members of SASSA in Zwi, the local office in Nelson Mandela Metro Municipality in the Eastern Cape, who passed away earlier this week in line of duty. So the national departments allocated a sum of 20 million, whilst the Solidarity Fund allocated 23 million to provide emergency food parcels to the value of 700 rands per household. In total, over 58,000 households and close to 250,000 people have already started receiving these food parcels through our community nutrition development centers, which we normally call the CNDCs, through a knock and drop deliveries. Our provinces are coordinating this, and we are looking at upscaling this program so that we respond efficiently and effectively to the call by the President that no South African must be left hungry at this point in time. I want to highlight the eligibility criteria through this program. It includes all current beneficiaries of CNDCs, beneficiaries of all closed centers feeding program like drop-in centers, home community-based care, and lunch on clubs qualify for CNDC's emergency food parcels. These also includes households in need of food assistance which are not supported through the social relief of distress and any other feeding program. For further information on this program, citizens can consult the provincial departments of social development. We note with great appreciation and thank all donations in kind, especially from the private sector and NPOs that have been made to us through this program and other programs. I do want to indicate at this point in time that I'm at pains with my department and the portfolio to say, while we have all these food parcels that were and the food that is all over the country, we thank everyone who's been contributing, but we want to make a plea that these food parcels must not only go to certain areas which are easily accessible. The problem we have is that there are far-flung places who are not receiving the same, and our call is also to say, those who are donors and everything, can they please work with our communities, because the communities know exactly who needs this most. And it's a call both to the private sector, but also to government departments to please stretch out as far as we possibly can. With regards to shelters for the homeless, and I know that this has created a lot of challenges, we have 163 shelters for the homeless, wherein we are accommodating over 14,000 homeless people countrywide. This number fluctuates as some are running away from some of these shelters and coming back at some point. Within these shelters, we are providing personal protective equipment, dignity packs, food, sanitizers, sleeping mattresses and blankets, and additional to this, we are providing substance abuse and psychosocial support. We have started to expose the beneficiaries in some of the provinces to some soft skills development and family reorientation. I think that most people have seen in the Free State, in Mpumalanga, and Northwest, where the MECs of social development have really been working with local structures. May I also indicate at this point in time that we still have a bit of a challenge with regard to who ultimately must be responsible for these homeless, the homeless people, but also at a local level. And in my discussion with the MECs this morning, many of them were raising concern about the fact that it is the local government structures who are supposed to be responsible. But because we were caught with this coronavirus, we needed all to act. And the call we want to make is that we need to support the homeless by making sure that they remain within the homes that have been created for them, and thank all the departments that they've done their best in assisting us. The department is discharging its responsibility of providing psychosocial support. We have deployed psychosocial support 276 teams at district level to assist with trauma debriefing to affected and infected individual families, including those coming from quarantine. Nearly 10,000 people have received psychosocial services from the Department of Social Development. In this regard, we reiterate our appreciation for the support that Vodacom and the State Information Technology SITA are giving to our field-based psychosocial support practitioners in the form of 2,300 smartphones through which data is captured, sent to the NEF Center at Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, where it will form part of a bigger analysis about South Africa's handling of the pandemic. We have seen a rise in the number of gender-based violence incidences, and we have strengthened the capacity of our GBV Center by adding additional qualified social workers to attend to gender-based and family violence cases that are happening during this period. This is one of the biggest problems that we are facing in South Africa, and my call to our communities is that yes, there is COVID, but that doesn't mean we must not report when we come across the challenges of gender-based violence. This morning, I looked with horror at a picture that I got from the MEC from Mpumalanga of a young woman who was burnt by a boyfriend. It is just unimaginable when you look at that picture. The plea that we want to, the plea and call that we want to make is that we do appreciate and understand that people are at home because they can't go out. That does not give anybody any authority, any right to be abusive in the environment, because what we are all going through is very difficult, and therefore we have to upscale the support we give, including what we are trying to push through the regulations as well as a directive, because many of the people, the women and children who are finding themselves abused, they are saying they can't leave the house, and therefore we need to find other mechanisms of enabling them to go to report to the police. And also we are working with the Minister Cele and his department to make sure that women and children get the assistance. With regard to the work being done by the National Development Agency, remember that, as I indicated, we are a portfolio. It's the Department of Social Development, it's SASSA and the National Development Agency. To complement our ongoing national effort at a community level, the National Development Agency has activated a network of 52 civil society organizations across 52 metro and district municipalities of the country. These will enhance the reach of social development portfolio where people live. With regard to SASSA, and I know that many want to know more from this angle, the payment of social grants remains a critical safety net for the poor during this time. In this regard, we will continue to ensure that all those who are due to receive their social grants do so without any hindrance. Ngifuna nokusho ke ukuthi ngo-April safunda isifundo esikhulu kakhulu ngokuthi sisebenzisane nabanye abantu, including ama-community, ukuthi basincede ngesikhathi abantu abadala mabehamba beyolanda imali yabo or bayothenga ukudla during this period. The proposed relief measures target people who are already receiving social grants in the form of top-up to existing social grants and new grants for people who have no other income at all. In summary, though, we will implement the following: increase the 300 rands for the grant, for the child support grant to be paid only in May per child. Thereafter, from June to October, a 500 grant will be paid to the caregiver of the children on the child support grant. The amount per child will revert to 440 per month from June. All existing caregivers will automatically qualify and receive this benefit along with the existing child support grant monthly benefit. I do want to say here, we are very conscious of the fact that the child support grant is the lowest. It is actually below the poverty line. And our plan is that we don't want a short-term something. We're doing something now until October, but we need to have a conversation as a country with the relevant department and especially with finance to look at other ways of ensuring that in future the amount of money that is given for this child care grant is increased, because all other grants are above are more than the one of the child support grant. All other existing social grants are increased by 250 per month from May until October. And in this regard, I wish to acknowledge all the proposals and inputs we have received on how we should augment the social grants during COVID crisis. One of the key distributions that was that call for an increase in the child support grant to 500 rands per child. Now that we have clarified the allocation wherein the child support grant will be increased by 300 per child in May and 500 per caregiver from June to October, many organizations are arguing that we have shortchanged the children. While I acknowledge that all these proposals were sound and well motivated, we were unfortunately not able to provide the necessary funding to accommodate everyone during this proposal. But also, as a Department of Social Development, we don't live in isolation. When the challenges are there for the economy and the budget and all, we need to also be part and parcel of those discussions. We are also in conversation with Treasury and other parts of government to examine how we can improve the support that will provide for children, including how to address the gap that has been created by the suspension of the feeding schemes where we're providing ECD centers in schools. And we are in a conversation with the Minister of Basic Education about how we'll be able to deal with this, because as we all know, the children who were getting 2 meals at school are no longer getting that. The total amount of 200 billion will be paid during the May payment cycle to 11.3 million recipients, thus benefiting 18.6 million people, including children. This includes the increased amounts mentioned above. In many poor households, social grants are the only source of income, and these increases will go a long way to ensure that these families do meet their basic livelihood needs. From May onwards, we will be staggering the payments of social grants to avoid large numbers of people at South African Post Office premises, retailers, and ATMs. This is in line with the disaster management plan regulations. I must also, at this juncture, appreciate the retailers and banks for their support and continued cooperation during this time. We will, as we did during the month of April, we engaged the Minister of Transport, we also engaged the Minister of Police, we engaged COGTA, we engaged all those relevant ministers to help us in the relaxation of some of the regulations in order for us to be able to make sure that our people move easily to access their grants. But we want to make the emphasis again. Masingafuni ukholwa ngokubona njengo Thomas. Wonke umuntu osekhaya must appreciate ukuthi i-COVID is still with us. We have, as a result of the challenges expressed in April 2020, SASSA engaged critical stakeholders in the payment industry and civil society to find possible solutions to relieve overcrowding and inconvenience, especially to older persons and persons with disability. In this regard, we have since separated the payment dates for older persons and persons with disability from other social grant beneficiaries. Older persons and persons with disabilities will receive their social grant on the 3rd of every month or the nearest working day after this date, when the date falls on a weekend on a public holiday. This means that from the 4th, for the month of May, older persons and persons with disability can start collecting their money from the 4th of May since the 3rd falls on a weekend. Ra kopa ge hore batho ba bagolo ba tsebe hore tšhelete ya bona e tla tswa from the 4th of May. Kaofela ba bang, those who are supposed to be collecting the social grants tsa bona, re kopa hore ba ska ya go di bankeng, ba ska ya go di post office, ba ska ya, so that ba bule tsela for the elderly people and those with disability to be able to access, in order for us to avoid the fela uthelana ka COVID-19. The special COVID social relief of distress grant. This is the one that has ended up causing a whole lot of confusion. There should be no confusion about this issue. And we are also asking those who are already busy passing messages through social media, false information, we are asking them to stop that, because they are not assisting us, neither are they assisting the communities who we are trying to assist. With regard to the special COVID social relief of distress grant, the amount to be paid to qualifying applications will be 350 rands per month from the month of May to October 2020. The special COVID-19 social relief of distress grant will be implemented in terms of the existing avenue provided by the social relief of distress channel, which is administered in accordance with the provisions of the Set of Social Assistance Act of 2004. Everything reetsa ka molao, and therefore we need to make sure that we are accountable. We need to make sure that re na le di systems tse right to make sure that this money goes to the right people. In terms of Regulation 9(6) of social relief, may be provided to South African citizens, permanent residents and refugees who have been affected by the disaster. This framework is currently administered through the South African Social Security Agency, SASSA, however, with limitations. The implementation of existing grants top-up is very straightforward, as these beneficiaries are already in the SASSA database. SASSA was required to make adjustments to the system to increase the amount for existing beneficiaries for the next 6 months. The new special COVID-19 SRD grant requires a rather more complex approach, as the beneficiaries are not on the SASSA database or any other grant support program. It was therefore necessary to introduce new systems and new qualification criteria and amend some regulations. The qualifying criteria for special COVID-19 social relief of distress, 350 rands per month for distressed individuals, is as follows. 1, the grant will be available to South African citizens, permanent residents or refugees registered on the Home Affairs system who are resident within the borders of the Republic of South Africa. Number 1. Number 2, applicant must be above the age of 18, unemployed, not receiving any income, not receiving any social grant, not receiving any unemployment insurance benefit, and does not qualify to receive unemployment insurance benefits, not receiving a stipend from the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, and not resident in a government-funded or subsidized institution. Prospective applicants will need to provide the following compulsory information for processing for their application. 1, identity number, Department of Home Affairs, only provided by the Department of Home Affairs. No other person gives, no other department gives IDs. Name and surname as captured in the ID and initials, gender and disability, banking details, bank name and account, contact detail, cell phone number, proof of residence. I know at this point in time we had endless discussions about banking details, because some of the people that we are talking about are people who have no accounts, and many of them, as they are unemployed, obviously they will not have banking details. But we are working on a system how to reach the unbanked and the ones that have not been, that do not have the bank accounts. We're still working on the system. In terms of application process, an application for social relief of distress or social grant may be lodged electronically over and above any other available means by lodging such applications. The measures applicable including sending a WhatsApp message to 0600 123 456 and select SASSA, or email to srd@sasa.gov.za. We are still finalizing additional access channels, including SMS, self-help desk, and online application process. We will give information as soon as possible. And it's a plea again. Abantu abasemakhaya siyanicela ukuthi nazi ukuthi once sesine system esizokwazi ukuthi inikeze abantu okufuneka kube yibo abathola le mali le upresident asesinikeze yona, sizocela ukuthi sincedisane nabantu basemakhaya ukuthi iprocess yethu le bayi understand kahle ukuthi hamba kanjani. Re khopela gore ko magaeng, let us understand gore system ya rona re tshwanetse re lokise hantle so that batho haba apply ba khone gore re respond to them kanako, because when you apply, how applier asuguri immediately utlatola 350 rands. How applier runa as a Department of Social Development together with SASSA, together with others, we must make sure that you are not a person who's receiving other grants and now we are taking away ukudla emlonyeni wabanye abantu abangenalutho kodwa wena kube kukhona okutholayo. For people with no access to technology, volunteers will be trained to assist applicants who cannot use technology and will be provided with gadgets to capture details on behalf of applicants. We have already received commitments from the NYDA, NDA, and community development workers in some of the provinces to assist. SASSA in the provinces will further unpack those in consultation with provincial structures and civil society. We are just asking that those who have the means must be able to assist those who cannot. But when all is said and done, this money must go to the right people. Notification of the outcome for an application for special COVID-19 social relief of distress grant will be provided in the same manner in which the application was made. In terms of payment, this will be made mainly through bank accounts. I've already indicated that. Please, it is important for applicant to note that by virtue of application, all applicants grant consent to SASSA to verify the residency, source of income, and social security benefits with government departments and financial institutions, including all ID permits, will be cross-checked against data sources. Sifuna ukusho njeke ukuthi emakhaya isystem esizoyifaka isystem ezosinceda ukuthi futhi notsotsi bangangena esystemini yethu ngoba abantu okufuneka bathole le mali abantu ukuthi abanalutho abantu okwamanje abangenako nokudla emakhaya. Lastly, we'll publicize the directions which will provide details on how this grant will be implemented. The system will go live immediately when the regulations are published, and we envisage to start making payments by the 15th of May 2020. Those who have applied during the trial run will be contacted to provide further information. I wish to thank all the people who are in the front line in fight against the COVID virus pandemic. Among them, there are ordinary South Africans who are suffering from this pandemic or are caring for loved ones who are infected with it, volunteers in all our communities and institutions, social service professionals in all categories at all levels, health professionals in all specialization, and super specialists, the men and women who dispose of the garbage from our homes and offices, the people who prepare, package, and prepare the food parcels that people eat, South Africans who make sure that we have been provided with clean water and uninterrupted electricity supply since the beginning of the life-changing fight against COVID-19. These and more unnamed South Africans enjoy a great deal for South Africa's collective well-being. I wish to thank everyone that has been able to be of support and assistance, but I will not forget to thank also the very ministers who are sitting here, because Minister Mthembu, some people not really see what we are doing. We have endless sleepless nights. We sit throughout nights in meetings trying just to make sure that we develop the right regulations, make sure that we are sensitive to all our people. It's very stressful for us, but we've got to soldier on because we've got a responsibility. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. We did indicate that we would want some appreciation in the form of bottles. I'll give you the name of my perfume, Minister. I've been here before. Mine is to give you an update of how far we are in what we're doing. Because we're dealing with a very essential matter of water and an equally essential matter of human settlements. On water and sanitation, we have prioritized water as I've indicated. This is the first thing that we are required to do by everybody who's advised us on how to allay the COVID virus. So what we have done, which is put up a command center that the President has gone to visit to ensure that we are able to provide water throughout the entirety of South Africa. We've concentrated this work because it is so much easier, and it made it easier for us to get in touch with the people who provide the water tanks, to put them all in one place for us to be able to send them out to our provinces. We sent out a number of the tanks. The tanks, as you know, are those gadgets that hold the water, and the tankers are those that are driven to provide water. We have up to now provided something in the region of 16,000 tankers throughout the country, making sure that on a regular basis we fill those up with water, and we have provided something in the region of 1,200 water tankers to provide water to those areas. We have had 1,200 tankers, thank you. Thank you very much, Minister Tembu. We've had a bit of a problem in the installation of some of the tanks that we have. So you will have heard from radio and other areas that there have been complaints. The reason for this is that the tanks themselves have to be mounted. And when we rolled out the tanks, we discovered that the restrictions that we had put around COVID shutdown or lockdown cut out a great deal of what we needed to put up the tanks themselves, which are the bricks and the cement and some of the taps. We have now lifted that restriction, and we have asked municipalities to make use of this opportunity. Municipalities have a responsibility of putting up the tanks, to put up the platform, make sure that the tanks themselves are cemented so that nobody can take them away. And you would not believe it, even despite the police and everybody out on the streets, there are some people who are still stealing our tanks. You told Tutsis. We are appealing to them. Water is life for everybody. Please do not steal those tanks that are out there to assist those people who have no access to water. Should we have any extra tanks, we will be able to sell them to you. But if you're found stealing a tank, we will ask for maximum sentence from any court for you, because you're taking away people's lives. That is an essence of what makes it possible for us to avoid COVID-19. There are also 90. You know, if I were you, if I were you, Minister Mtembu, I would stop correcting people. Thank you very much. Now, There are, of course, and here is a sincere apology, there are, of course, areas where we have not been able to reach, especially the most rural areas. We try in every way that we can to reach them. But there are some that we have overlooked. We've got a chart which, if we had the opportunity, we would put out there so that you... Ay, Lindy kaloku chirichik. Lindy? Please. Hey, yes, notice isikolo sivaliwe sengingathi ngutishara weclass manje. For those whom we have not been able to reach, please do not forget this number, and I want to repeat it. It'll probably be the 10th time I'm doing so. Please call us so that we can locate where you are, we can locate your municipality, and make sure that you do have water. The number is 0800 200 200. 0800 200 200. It's a toll-free number, so if you've got a phone or you have somebody near you with a phone, please alert us of those areas that still do not have any water. The water that we have used within this particular period has served a great deal of our people to the tune of 306 million that has been put into this operation. We are very proud of the work that has been done through the command center because it has made it possible for us to get through the first step. But a lot still needs to be done going forward. Regarding human settlements, this one is a very difficult, trickier one than water. Because what we have done in the regulations is, number one, invasions are absolutely illegal. The regulations are very clear on that. Anybody found invading land will be arrested immediately and put in a safe place where they will not be able to do it again for a very long time. Eviction is equally illegal. So nobody is allowed in this period to invade land that they find vacant, which is what most of our people like doing when they find vacant land, and evictions, which is done especially by those people who feel that either they're not getting any additional income from the people who live in their backyards, or especially done by farmers in the Western Cape. This is completely illegal. Last week I had to go down to the Western Cape to solve a problem where there had been evictions of people who had lived there. At least 49 families had lived there legally, but were evicted by the police. The matter was taken to court. Thankfully, the court has judged in the favor of the 49 families, and they have been taken back to their home in Empolweni. However, human beings being what they are, there are people who have now taken advantage of the fact that 49 families were allowed to live there, and they've now invaded. What we're going to do is to go and remove them with the proper necessary documentation from the courts and take them back to where they're supposed to be. There should not be any chance takers in this particular period. However, we've had time with the various municipalities and provinces to work out what it is that we are going to do. I had the fortune to have a whole day with the mayor of Gauteng and the MEC mayor of Johannesburg and MEC of Gauteng, and between us we have worked out that it is possible for us within the next period to release something in the region of 14,242 units within the next month or so. Now, if you calculate that each family has about 6 people living in it, you can imagine how many people it is that we'll be providing housing and shelter for in the nearest future. And I'm very grateful to the people that have been assisting me with this. In the Western Cape, we've also worked out what it is that we're going to do, and we have followed the legal processes. It's going to be much more difficult to count there because of the various problems that you would know that we have in the Western Cape. However, in the Eastern Cape, we do have work that is ongoing, and out of this, we hope to have a yield of 18,474 units in the next month or so. And if you multiply that by the number of 6 or 7, which is what we have per family, then you will realize that we are close to having, in the Eastern Cape alone, 92,244 people relocated to be put in new housing units. And we think that it has helped us to fast track some of the issues that we have. Living in an informal settlement is not ideal, and we have taken time to take the advice of several NGOs who have been working with us traditionally to work out how it is that we're going to do this. They've given us good advice, and we've been working on that advice. And while I have this opportunity, I want to correct something that was in the newspaper and gave a completely different impression from what it is that is happening out there. We've been working with something like 10 NGOs. These are NGOs that we normally work with. Some more NGOs have indicated that they feel left out. We've left the door open. Should there be any NGOs that would like to come and join us, our doors are open. They would just need to abide by the regulations around which we have set for each of us to abide by. However, what we are also wanting to do is to change the terminology that we as government use when we communicate with our people. So I indicated on one occasion that we have learned from the NGO sector that they themselves were in the process of what we in government call de-densifying, and they call it reblocking. So we've adopted the language of the NGOs, which is something that is more easily understandable by our people, and they call it reblocking. Reblocking is making sure that in any set of houses in an informal settlement, some houses will be required to move away so that there is place for fire brigades, for police vehicles, or any of those matters that serve an essential purpose for our people. So we've latched on to the term of reblocking, and this is what we're going to be doing with our NGOs that have been working with us. We are hopeful that in the nearest future, we will have most of our informal settlements in Welgespreid, in Diepsloot, in Tanganani Extension, in Zandspruit, in Ivory Coast, in Ivory Park, in Schuetla, in Madala Hostel, and in the Helen Joseph Women's Hostel. And I hope we start with the Women's Hostel because the lockdown, as Minister Zulu has indicated, has brought about an unfortunate situation of a greater number of abuses within the home. So I'm hoping that we'll start with the Women's Hostel, and we will be continuing to make sure that we are providing suitable accommodation for all of these people. 2 weeks ago, we had a pleasant surprise from a donor who builds houses largely for people who go hunting, and they are used in ranches, and these are made of wood, and it takes about 2 hours to build a unit, and he invited us to see how this is done, and we already have about 20 or so units built within the space of about 4 days. We will be inviting the president, hopefully on Sunday. We invite all of you too to come and see these units. They are beautiful. We're giving them to people who have lived in a particular area, and these are victims of eviction from farms. The area that we are dealing with was traditionally a farming area, and as it was gentrified, the people who worked on the farms were forced out, and they lived in tents and have been living in tents for the longest time. A very sad situation that we found there. But we've begun to build houses for them, and I'm hoping that when we give away these houses, the television will be there to show what is possible in the shortest possible time. Chairperson, I am very aware that we have very limited time, and we still need to make sure that we are able to attend to many other matters that need our attention. For the people in the Northwest, we still haven't had the opportunity to speak with the MEC, but we are hoping that very soon the informal settlement of Bui Degong will be attended to, In the Western Cape, I have been there and I have seen the arrangements that are made for Dunoon, and I'm hoping that very soon we'll be able to put up some kind of accommodation for them, including about 2,000 units for Kosovo. We have been working very hard, as Minister Zulu has been saying, to make sure that we can provide our people with decent shelter, because it is necessary. It is also necessary because they have to keep the necessary distance that is required. Most of the people who live in informal settlements are large families. And for us to be able to intervene in the way that we're required to intervene, we're trying to make sure that we can build more houses, separate them, but we emphasize that this will not be forced upon them. This will be on a voluntary basis. By showing them what we're doing with the wooden accommodation that we have, we're hoping that they'll be attracted to opt to move out of the accommodation they have to better accommodation, which is what government is providing them. Thank you very much for that time. We will now take questions, and we will ask Mr. Mtembu, please, to come and adjudicate the question period. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my colleagues. We have just heard from our two ministers who are from the social cluster, from housing to water, and also to all the necessities that we need to ensure that despite these difficulties, our people still continue to live in dignity. Again, that's from Minister Lindiwe Zulu. From Mama Lindiwe Zulu, we have heard how she is taking forward the announcements made by our president on increasing certain grants for a period of 6 months, but creating another grant, a COVID distress grant for 6 months. So we have had all those. Now we know where we are going. We will now allow the media to field questions, but we really appreciate, my colleagues, that you were able to be here and to speak to our people on these very important matters in our lives, particularly in ensuring that, notwithstanding the difficulties that we are faced with, at least we are able to come up with relief measures for our people. Now, is there anybody online, on the WhatsApp?
Yes, Minister, we have a couple of questions.
Can go ahead.
All right, thank you. The first question is from Carol Payton from the Business Day. It's directed to Minister Zulu. The question is, well, the questions are, what are the criteria for the new 350 Rand grant? Secondly, can you explain the situation with food parcels? What is the value of the food parcels and who gets it? And thirdly, can you please explain more about the food vouchers? What is the value of the food vouchers and who gets those? The next question is from Charlotte of EWN. The first one is directed to Minister Sisulu. She's asking, has the process of attaching water tanks delivered to water scarce areas to water sources been completed? Are all tanks that have been delivered now attached to water sources? If not, what is the delay? The next question is from the same person, directed to Minister Zulu. She's asking, has the SASSA system that will allow for the application and payout of the special COVID-19 grant been tested? Is it ready to go? And has it been stress tested to ensure that it works efficiently? Can I continue?
We have taken how many now? We've taken 3. Let's take 5.
Okay. The next is from Graham Hoskin from the Sunday Times. It's directed to Minister Zulu. And he's asking, if the child support grant is for the caregiver, what relief are children receiving in terms of grants, and why is there no increase to the child support grants, which are 440 Rand per month? He's also asking, How was the amount of 350 decided upon with regards to the COVID-19 grant? And lastly, please explain in detail the rollout of the new e-grant system and how exactly will people be able to access it? The next question is from Wendell from Reuters news agency, and it's also directed to Minister Zulu. He's saying there are only 58,000 food parcels so far, and this is a drop in the ocean. What does government estimate the current need to be, and what are the plans to ramp up food parcels to a set maximum amount, and by when? He's also asking what is happening to those children no longer getting meals as part of the national feeding scheme. Are there specific measures from social development to help them?
Thank you very much. Do you still have some questions there? We will come back to you from your WhatsApp. Eh? No, from the WhatsApp group.
Yes, Minister, I've got about 4 more.
No, it's fine. Let's take these ones, answer these ones so that we don't get confused with many questions. Minister Zulu.
Thank you very much. I think we have to distribute the presentation that we made here, because almost all the questions that are being asked are questions that I really dealt with at length. So may I make the proposal to those that are responsible for the communication to distribute the speech, Linton, Chief of Staff, and communications guys, Charlene, please make sure that it is distributed. But I can say to you that the criteria in terms of the 350 is already explained as I presented it. The food parcels and the food vouchers, I think we must indicate that when it comes to the food parcels, there is food parcels that are being distributed through SASSA, and this is through the SRD, which is something that is not new. It's something that we have always done, but we have had to expand it. We have had to upscale it so that it covers many of the people that are not covered, but some of them who are going to be affected by COVID. As you all know, the SASSA food parcel, it was not a thumbsuck as to what needs to be the content of that food parcel. It's an old one, and the SASSA food parcel is about 1,200 or 1,000 and something, 1,200. And the content has been very consistent across all provinces. But of course, taking into consideration the nutritional value, because you cannot be giving our people anything that you think is important. It's got to be with a nutritional value. I know, and you are aware, that President Cyril Ramaphosa himself has been saying to us that we need to use other methods and other mechanisms of empowering our people for nutrition, either the food parcels, those that we are able to do, but there's also a call for a change in the system where we can introduce vouchers where people can be able to use the vouchers and buy the kind of food that they want. That is a system that we really need to make sure that we work thoroughly on, because consideration also has to be, where are they going to be buying with those food vouchers? Are they going to be going back again to the same old big companies? Are the beneficiaries going to be forced yet again to travel long distances to go and get the food? Or are we going to use a system where the vouchers can be used within the communities, hence the importance of improving your spaza shops and accessibility through the spaza shops, through your general dealers that you find in the rural areas? We think that this COVID-19 is a terrible thing that has happened to us, but it has also forced us to think differently and to speed up in some of our processes and make sure that our implementation doesn't go the same old way. Now the question, has the SASTA system been tested or not? I already in the statement did indicate that the numbers and the WhatsApp that people can use, but the complete system is only going to be announced once we are comfortable that the system that we have will, one, be a system that is easily accessible, two, being a system that where people we can able to respond back to the applicants properly. Three, there must also be consideration of the cost thereof, because the other social grants were easy for us to deal with because it was just a question of adding the money that has been declared by the president onto already an existing system. Now with this system, we need to work with the banks, we need to work with the Reserve Bank, we need to work with whoever that can be able to assist us to bring a system that is credible, but also to bring a system that's not too expensive. One of the biggest challenges we had in the discussions that SASSA and NDA and others have been, there's lots of people who've come out with proposals as to how to do it, but every time we look at the front end and we look at the back end, we find that the cost is unbelievable. There's no way we can justify paying an amount of 350 rands to the individuals who deserve it, only to find that when that money is being distributed, the amount of money we've had to pay in order for us to be efficient is going to be even bigger than the amount that we are giving to our people. The issue of the 350 is an amount which the president did not also just wake up in the morning and thumbs up. We are all aware of the fact that prior to even us being hit by COVID-19, our economy was already going through serious difficulties. As it is right now, many departments were requested to reduce their budgets, take back the money. Many provinces are actually complaining, even now the MECs were complaining to me this morning that part of the money that was taken away from them before COVID-19, you all know that we're already on a belt tightening. We're already in a period of trying to save as far as we possibly can. So the president, together with Treasury and together with ourselves and together with the relevant people, they came to the conclusion on the basis of what you have in your pocket. You cannot go out there and make promises you cannot keep, because the money that is being given to us was money. Treasury crunches the figures, and Treasury has to crunch the figures together with us, because we've got to make sure that whatever we have, if we say 6 months, we must make sure that we have that amount of money for the next 6 months. And I did indicate even in the beginning that we must be developmental. We must be sustainable, and therefore the discussion about what happens 6 months from now needs to be quick in our conversation and discussion how can we be able to help our people. Here is what I would also like to say to our communities. Uhulumente lo esikuwo uhulumente ka African National Congress, into esifuna ukuyibona ukuthi in future abantu bakwazi ukuziphilisa. Ukuze abantu bakwazi ukuziphilisa kusho ukuthi i-economy ye South Africa kufuneka isebenze. Asifuni ukuthi thina si department ye social grant kungabi bikho into esiyenzayo ukuze sinikeze amandla kubantu abasemakhaya, whether ama garden, whether kufuneka kube khona labasebenza khona. Yingakho nje futhi siba encourage abaningi ukuthi mabangenele i-EPWP program, because mawungayibheka yona ne future esikhuluma ngayo kuyoba imali engcono ku even kunale 350 esikhuluma ngayo. So see Department of Social Development, SASSA and NDA, for the future re tshwanetse gore re empower batho ba rona, iskaba gore batho ba rona fela ba nagana gore government e tla ntse intsha chelete. Vele it's our responsibility to rinse chelete, but we must be able to appreciate the fact that budget ya rona ai gole, and in order for the budget to grow ke yona reason e ke buang ka yona gore rona re batla ba part and parcel of the economic development, because I can tell you, I am sure that each and every individual out there, nobody wants to sit in some corner and just be waiting. The reason why our people are in this situation, it is because unemployment is too high in South Africa. It is because they've got nowhere else to go. So that's why we ask all other departments, whether it's agriculture, whether it's tourism, whether it's even human settlement itself. We have very serious conversations, the human settlement. In fact, I know as a matter of fact that human settlement, hey, khohlola to your, so we need to make sure that the opportunities must be open for our people so that they can be able to take care of themselves. Yes, we are a government that needs to be responsible, that needs to be responsive. Taba ya di food parcel. Ke a tseba gore almost everywhere in our country, batho ba bangata ba llela di food parcels. Yes, we will reach as far as we possibly can. But here is a message. The message is that those who even have the food already, they must really think and think seriously about those who have absolutely nothing. So the food parcels, we are depending on the, firstly, now as a minister was social development, ki bua le di MECs in all provinces, because when all is said and done, asin na oyeming mo Pretoria, otla khona ubona uri mang ko kae wa ithola tšhelete. But we are depending, I mean, what ithola the food parcels, we are depending on the MECs, on the local government, on the structures that we already have, which I indicated, your CNDCs and your drop-off centers. And that issue, ya bana ba skolo, Leona, I did address it. Hore kinali discussion ile minister wa basic education. Hore re understand hore bana ba bangata ba dutse ko magaeng and they have nothing. So we are also calling on the parents to really assist in this case, because chelete which should have been spent now on the children while they were going to school is the money that maybe we can see how we can work it out so that within the systems that we have, really improvement. On the other hand, Minister wa Basic Education, the Minister wa Minister Enjimutsecha, Libona, they will be here making the very making the announcements about what plans they have in place. And I'm sure Liruna the same question, but I can assure you, me and her have already started a conversation. Yauri, how can we help those that are not in school? Also, I have mentioned earlier on that those that are private sector driven, those that are packaging and sending and giving people food, our call to yourselves is that as far as possible, work with the communities, as I said earlier, because your government structures, your NPOs, your NGOs are the ones who know where the people who need most. And therefore, do not create a panic in our communities. I've seen sometimes some people, and we thank them for going out there, but I see them just going out and letting people come stand in queues, and that itself, I think that there's got to be dignity in that. We need to be appreciative that people didn't call it upon themselves to be in that situation. So those that are giving the food, please make sure that you adhere to the guidelines, and if you don't know what the guidelines are, ask your local government structures, ask your provincial structures what needs to be done. We also do not want to be just a society and community or government of food parcels. Life is way bigger than that, but for now, we will use the food parcels in order for us to reach our people. But for the future, we have to look for systems that give dignity to our people. Thank you.
Minister Zulu.
I've just been reminded before I answer this, I've just been reminded by my people to announce good news. Good news for us, it might not necessarily be good news for everybody else who's not affected by this. You know, for a very long time, we had a problem with the Vaal River and effluent flowing out and causing a great deal of harm, especially to the residents of the Vaal and the communities there who conduct business. Yesterday, we were invited over to be shown that the 44 pumps had already been cleared. Now we will be building up a wastewater treatment plant of state-of-the-art that will make it possible for us to engage all the matter that you flush out down the toilet. Because South Africa has grown, or Johannesburg has grown much bigger than when the first wastewater treatment plant was put up. So we're very glad that we are over that. It was a very big gain for us. The question that I have been asked here is, how many tanks have been allocated so far, and what has the delay been? We have allocated 16,224 tanks, and these have been delivered. And how many of these have been installed? 9,223. The reason was made very clear to you. By the time we sent the tanks there, the hardware shops had already closed because there was a lockdown. So the municipal workers were not able to mount the tanks onto the platform that is necessary. You need a platform for several reasons. One, to make sure that the tap is at the point at which you are able to put a pail under it and turn on the tap. And secondly, to make sure that the tanks are secure and are protected from anybody who might want to walk away with them. We have since dealt with the matter, and the regulations now allow hardware shops to provide us with cement and bricks and all of those things that we need. So most of our municipalities are hard at work making sure that we can mount all of these tanks so that they are usable wherever it is possible for us to use them. And I hope that answers the question. But should there be anybody out there in any of these communities who would like to come out and help and has the necessary tools of trade, please come and join us. We would be only too happy to have you there. We are halfway through with putting up our tanks. We should have been much further, but we just didn't take into consideration the restrictions that we put on ourselves. But we are now working full-time, and we want anybody out there to come and help us. I think that is about all that I was asked to do. Thank you.
Thank you, ministers. We will take another round. You know what is making me feel like a human being is that you have got people here who are doing so much for people who need this relief. Whether it's relief of water, whether it's relief of housing, whether it's relief of 350. You know, there are some people who think that 350 won't do anything for them. But there are people there who need the 350 to live. So again, the 300 for social grant, 500 for caregivers, we really appreciate the work that you are doing, colleagues. And I think I'm saying this on behalf of all South Africans who are listening. So the intervention measures and socio-economic relief measures that the President spoke to are measures that are much needed in our communities. So we are happy to hear ministers saying, how far have we gone now to implement these measures? This is most appreciated. Having said that, any other questions? Okay.
We have...
It looks like the journalists are so much used to the WhatsApp. They don't want to call. They just WhatsApp. Okay.
Yes, I think we're spoiling them with the WhatsApp line, Minister.
Yes.
There's a question from Bande Kentane of Faith Terrestrial, directed to Minister Sisulu. He's saying regarding, I think it's supposed to be Minister Zulu though, he's saying regarding registered NGOs under the banner of care services and social relief of distress, who also have a CIPC license, are they able to, 1, provide food parcels to individuals in need, 2, provide food parcels to communities in their communities, and 3, organize a food handout at their facilities? The next question is a follow-up from Carol Payton from the Business Day. It's also directed to Minister Zulu. Do households that qualify for food parcels also qualify for the 350 grant? The next question is from Khomotso Medupi from Daily Sun newspaper, also directed to Minister Zulu. Can ECD practitioners who won't be receiving stipends qualify for the 350 relief grant? And can they still apply for food parcels? The next question is also a follow-up from Hoskin of the Sunday Times. Who are the volunteers? How many will there be? And when will they begin capturing the details of those who qualify for the COVID-19 grant, but who don't have banking details or cell phone numbers? Then there is a question from Aserin Ndlovu from Capital Live Radio, and it states, as most ECD centers are NPOs and parents pay fees that in turn pay the salaries of the caregivers or teachers, now these people are not getting any payments. What can one do to get the relief as an NGO helper depending on the fee payments that is not paid for now as the children are not attending any school? And she's also asking, do we have any idea of what happens in a situation where schools open with some parents going back to work? Do we have any ECDs to be open for the bundles of joy?
Okay. Thank you very much. I see that almost all the questions are directed to you, Minister Zulu.
Chairperson, thank you very much. I am also going to ask if any of the questions that have been asked and the team that's in my office as well as SASSA feel they need to make any additions, please, they may do so. To the first question, Ubande, where Faith Terrace something? Yes, I think that we've been addressing this issue generally, that people must be able to stand up and help where they are able to help. People who are able to put food parcels together and are able to assist, they must assist. May I also say, Minister Mthembu, that I think the issue of the levels, level 4, level 5, and level 4, and what's going to be happening at level 4, that is clearly going to be explained. I'm not the one to explain. It's Minister Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma that will explain, because that will give you also an opportunity and an appreciation and understanding what is it that we can be able to do. I talk, for instance, I know many funders and donors, some restaurant owners have been saying, we would like to cook food, we would like to deliver the food. Can we be able to do that? I think that we'll welcome any form of assistance that is needed by our people. But again, we are also guided by the regulations and the guidelines. So if they have food, I think I indicated earlier on that they need to work with the community leaders. They also need to work with the government departments. They must, in their provinces, please check with SASSA, because again, SASSA regional managers are sitting in the meetings of the provincial jogs, and that's where everything is also being discussed. I think what we need to do, I can say, we need to just make sure that people have the right number to call, and then of course when they call on the other side, they must get the right response, because I know many complain that, Minister, you keep giving us numbers, and then when we call the numbers, we don't get through. The volunteers, again, volunteers would also have to adhere, and the selection of those volunteers I cannot do the selection of the volunteers because volunteers need to be agreed upon at a provincial level, at a local level, and there are people who've been volunteers throughout their lives that are known by the community. What I indicated was that the National Development Agency also had its own list of volunteers, and that list of volunteers by the National Development Agency, it's not something that's drawn by the CEO of National Development Agency here in Johannesburg. It is something that's drawn by the communities, from the communities, and again, we have to make sure that whatever volunteers we have, there's got to be proper processes of ensuring that there's a screening for them, of ensuring that they have the necessary PPE, they've got everything that needs to protect them. So you will see the volunteers, because one of the things that I would like to say, we are trying to get volunteers, but we are also aware that there are tsotsies along the line. Otsotsi abaphuma bengena manje ezindlini zabantu benqonqoza bathi bathunyelwe uhulumende ukwenza one thing or the other. Thina awethu ama-volunteer sizosho ukuthi azobe egqokeni, sizosho ukuthi azobe aphethe ini, ngoba into esikhulumayo sifuna ukuthi lawo ma-volunteer ahambayo nikhumbule ukuthi ama-volunteer esizowafuna yila ma-volunteer okuzofuneka ukuthi asincedise ukuthi abantu abayo-registara for le mali ye 350 rands ama-volunteer right, no thotsotsi abafuna ukungenela abantu ezindlini. With regard to the ECD centers, uhulumende akazange abaxoshe abantu abasebenza kuma ECDs. Government is continuing to pay those that are working in government-owned early childhood development centers. And also, the message was made by the Minister of Basic Education before, that those who are having private ECDs, it's their responsibility to pay those people who are working in ECDs. If they are unable to do so, because I don't want to generalize, some of them obviously are struggling because if the children are not there, some of the parents are not paying. It therefore means many of the ones who are coming from properly registered ECDs, they can go to the UIF and make the necessary claim, or anywhere else where they are supposed to claim. Ngoba kufuneka sazi ukuthi into eyenza ukuthi sibe ne UIF ivele ilindele ikhathi ezifana nalezi, ngoba siyazi ukuthi ifuture, angithi nje siyazi ukuthi uhulumende in general unokubeka even ama reserves in terms of the reserve bank, in terms of treasury, for ukuthi makwenzeka kube khona isigemegeme esifana nalesi esikuzo, uhulumeni akwazi ukuyongena lapha esikhwameni abheke ukuthi angathatha imali engakanani. So labo abakuma ECDs abanganikezwa imali yabo mabacheke ukuthi i-UIF ama process anjani, and ngiyazi ukuthi uComrade uMinister Thulas Nxesi already usayenzile i-announcement waze wenza extra call centers ukuze abantu bakwazi ukufikelela bafone. So labo ke baboyilanda lapho imali, but thina siwuhulumende ka-African National Congress azange sithi abantu abasebenza kuma ECDs abazuyithola imali yabo, bazoyihola imali yabo. Hopefully nabo labehleli khona babe nalo comfort ukuthi imali yabo bazoyithola. I think indaba ye qualification criteria ngeke ngayiphinda, ngifuna ukuyiphinda futhi Mthembu ngoba ingathi iyinkinga le ndaba. Ngiyayiphinda futhi. The qualification criteria for special COVID-19 of distress, 350 months for distressed individuals is as follows. The grant will be available to South African citizens, permanent refugee, permanent resident, or refugee registered on the Home Affairs System. Akekho umuntu ozoqusha somewhere avele angene acabanga ukuthi nje usezoyithola le mali, and who are resident within the borders of the Republic of South Africa. Applicants must be above the age of 18, unemployed, not receiving any income, not receiving any social grant, not receiving any unemployment insurance benefit, or does not qualify to receive unemployment insurance benefits, not receiving a stipend from National Student Financial Aid. Yay! Bakhona abaningi abasebangishayele ke bathi hey Minister thina sifola under NSFAS. Sifuna ukwazi ukuthi thina siya qualify yini. Unqualify ngoba uhulumende already uyanika le mali, and I think uMinister higher education kusasa mayela uzoyichaza kwayena leyo ndaba leyo ukuthi akekho asikho student esithathelwe imali yabo ngoba abaye esikoleni futhi siyazi ukuthi ama student amaningi bayayinida le mali ngoba phela kufuneka ba access i-information through ukusebenzisa lento lesesiziphethe lezi ukuze bakwazi ukuqhubeka nokufunda. Not resident in a government funded or subsidized institution, prospective applicants will need to provide the following compulsory information for processing of their application: identity number, of course, home affairs, name and surname as captured in the ID, gender and disability. Sengishilo ngathi ama banking details, siyazi ukuthi kukhona abanye abantu abanganawo lawo ma banking details. Sisemsebenzini siyafuna indlela ukuthi laba abangenawo bona sizobanikeza kanjani. Contact details or cell phone or whatever, proof of residence or address. Kukhona ke oke wangithumela u-SMS lapha wathi ya minister wena ukhuluma nge-proof of residence. Khona abantu abaningi abangenayo leyo proof of residence. I mean abangenayo lelo phepha elishoyo ngoba emakhaya for instance esikhathini esiningi siyazi ukuthi during ama-elections kunokuba khona leyo ndaba ukuthi ama-address wabantu nako konke. Lama volunteers esiwafunayo senzela ukuthi ama-volunteers akwazi ukusincedisa and futhi njengoba ngisho asizi usebenza sodwa. We are in connection with the MECs, with local structures. We are hoping that as normally we work with them, they will be able to assist us in identifying the communities, but also there are NGOs and NPOs who normally work with people. So masingakhulumi ngathi abantu bakithi abanangqondo abanazandla. Abantu bakithi banazo izandla banayo ingqondo bayasizwa ukuthi sithini. Umakhelwane mayebona ukuthi hayi ingathi umakhelwane wami uyahluleka ene ngiyamazi ukuthi akasebenzi naye ufuna uncedo bazokwazi ukuthi bancedisane, but they must keep the distance of course and make sure that they are fully covered and compliant with the COVID. So, Minister Mthembu, I think in terms of the clarifications that I needed, but ngifuna ukusho futhi ukuthi asishongo ukuthi imali izophuma kusasa. Ngishilo ngathi i-date esitargetayo ilanga le-15 zaka May ukuze sikwazi ukuthi from now kuze kuyofika leso sikhathi siyakwazi ukuthi senza i-system ezosinceda, siyakwazi ukuthi nama-volunteers asincedise, siyakwazi ukuthi sikhulumisane no-MEC bama-province, siyakwazi ukuthi sikhulume nabantu at the district level ukuthi basincedise. Mina nje ngimela, if there's one thing engiyaziyo, Minister Mthembu, Minister Zulu, that our people, those that really appreciate and understand how did we get here, they are really ready outside there to help us, and I'm sure that believing in them, they'll be able to assist us. Futhi ngiyazi ukuthi abanye babo kuzoba yibo abakhipha otsotsi phakathi kwethu ukuthi babonakalise ukuthi hayi cha lo siyamazi uyayithola i-grant, lo siyamazi uyakuthola ukuthini. Into engiyicelayo kubantu bakithi ukuthi make sizwelaneni siyabantu, sinabo ubuntu. That's why we talk about ubuntu, is because kufuneka sibambisane as communities. Uhulumente esebenza yedwa akazukwazi ukwenza wonke lo msebenzi. So it's my plea nokucela nje ukuthi sizame ukuncedisana. Kukhona umunye ongithumela i-SMS lapha wathi hey we minister wena siyakuzwa ukhuluma ngabo bonke abantu abangasebenzi ungakhohlwa ukuthi nawe uhleli nje lapho one of those abantu ababe bake basebenza bangatholi ithuba lokuthi bathole imisebenzi. Ngikhuluma ke ngamasotsha wethu wakudala ngoba lapho sikhula kule social grant esikhuluma ngayo sikhuluma ngama-war veterans. U-CEO wesasa uzontshela ukuthi mayeqale nginikeza nje ama-war veterans nami ngangigijime ngibheke abethu only to find ukuthi le criteria le esikhuluma ngayo sikhuluma ngabantu abo Second World War nabanye. Ngifuna ukusho ukuthi labo abalilwela izwe lethu akufunekanga ngalesikhathi sibakhohle. Into engiyaziyo ukuthi uminister we-human settlement kuningi asakwenzile esebenza ezama ukuthi labo bantu ene ngicela ningi understand kahle angikhulumi nje ngama-MKKers wodwa. Ngikhuluma ngawo wonke amasotsha wethu, whether bebeku ANC, whether bebeku PAC, whether bebeku Black Consciousness Movement, abaningi babo bantulile lengaphandle. And isikhathi sokuthi nathi manje ke sithi ukubabheka sibabonelele ukuthi bakuphi sibancede ngoba le period esikhuluma ngayo khona manje kulabo abanabantwana kulabo abangenabantwana. This is the time for us to pay also attention to them. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you very much, ministers. I hope that we no longer have any questions. How many?
We have 6 questions and 1 comment.
We don't have a question. We will take all 6. Okay, probably the comment is praising, is complimenting what we're doing, hopefully. But let's get started.
Yes, Minister, the comment is a compliment. It's directed to Minister Lindiwe Zulu. As a community radio station, we commend you for addressing residents through media in Vernac. The reality is that most South Africans would rather be addressed in their mother tongue language instead of English. Any plans from your side, perhaps, to engage local community radio stations to broadcast all these additions and amendments to social relief mechanisms in other South African languages other than English, so that we can reach so that the reach can be wider, given the dynamics of given the dynamics of most social relief recipients. And that's from Mr. Aseri Ndlovu from Capital Live SA, it's a community radio station.
Hello.
Then we have a question from Malvin Shabangu, also from a community radio station called Voice of the Community. It's directed to Minister Zulu. With regards to a proof of residence as a requirement for applications for the 350 unemployment grant, some people are living in informal settlements with no numbers or street names. So how are they going to access the proof of payment? The proof of address, sorry.
Yeah, used to proof of payment.
The next question is from Olim Gambi from ENCA. It's also directed to Minister Zulu. And his question is, which department between social development and the Department of Basic Education is responsible for the distribution of school nutrition, and how will the distribution work when schools reopen, given the phased approach? Then we have a question, Minister, directed to yourself, and it is from Geoff Hill from the Washington Times. And he's asking, we have previously said you have previously said that government would not release data on COVID-19 deaths and cases based on the ethnic groups. Does the government have this information for its own planning purposes? And if government are not willing to share the accurate data with the public, does that not give power to the fake news Minister Zulu spoke about earlier? Then we have a question from James Stent from Ground Up. The first question is, many countries have included relief for mortgage holders and renters during lockdown periods, largely by suspending mortgage and rental payments for a period. Why has the South African government decided against this kind of relief measure? Then there is a question, it doesn't say who it's related to or who it's directed to. It says, the City of Cape Town has indicated that it will close the Strandfontein temporary shelter for the homeless people from 30th April, acting on a legal opinion that says that municipalities are not responsible for shelter for homeless people during lockdown periods. Will the Department of Social Development be taking over the City of Cape Town, from the City of Cape Town, in accommodating the more than 1,500 people currently in Strandfontein after the 30th of April? Then we have a question from...
I hope that's the last one. I hope that's the last one, because we now have got to go somewhere else. Okay,
Minister, it's the last one. Catherine from Spotlight in Cape Town is asking Minister Zulu. Minister Zulu announced that 276 support teams were to be dispatched at district level to support with trauma, briefing and debriefing of families affected by the pandemic. How will these teams work to identify the families? What kind of support services specifically will those teams be offering? What staff members do these teams consist of? For an example, how many social workers, counselors, psychiatrists, etc.? And how is the Department of Social Development working with the tracing teams and rapid response teams to better locate families that need assistance? Thank you very much, Minister.
Let me answer again. The gentleman from the Washington Times. The information that we are putting out on the COVID testing, including screening that we are putting out, including numbers of people who have lost their lives, including the recoveries of people from this virus. That is a matter that we are guided by the World Health Organization. And some of us have read also what other countries are providing, so that that information is made available to the entire world. We have got coronavirus worldometer. Now, there is no requirement for ethnic determination in those requirements or on those guidelines by the WHO. I would like to repeat again, every time we have a case in South Africa, the Department of Health will know very well who is the person that is now infected, where does this person live. Even when we have recoveries, we also know who are these people and where do these people live. Even in the cases of deaths, we also know, in fact, we even know more details through the Minister of Health and those that have worked on the individual before the individual passed on. Therefore, our approach as South Africa is to safeguard the lives of all South Africans, because this disease, let me repeat again, this disease does not discriminate on the basis of color, doesn't discriminate on the basis of whether you are rich or poor. It doesn't discriminate on the basis of where you live. We have got people who have perished who are from very well-to-do suburbs. We have got people who have perished who are from informal settlements. Our issue as the government of South Africa is how do we ensure that all South Africans, all of them, without exception, whether black or white, rich or poor, are not adversely affected by this disease. And that's why we have, as the Minister of Health has said, we have been able to flatten the curve, and we would like to continue flattening the curve so that we don't have many infections, so that we don't have a peak that will overwhelm our health system. Now, Geoff Hill, if in your country they do the pronouncements on ethnic grounds, in South Africa we don't do so. We report in accordance with what the World Health Organization has guided us. How many of the population are infected? How many of the population are recovering? But how many tests are we conducting? All information that we make available to the World Health Organization, because we are duty bound to report on these issues. At no stage did the World Health Organization say to us, can you tell us whether those people that you have tested are black or white, are Zulu or Sotho? We have not received any such guidance from the World Health Organization. But suffice to say, we know in this country, by the way, as the government, which areas are badly affected. We know very well. We know that the areas of Johannesburg are badly affected, the areas of Cape Town are badly affected, including surrounding areas around Cape Town. We know the areas of Durban and Umlaas are badly affected. We know the areas of Pietermaritzburg are badly affected. We know the areas of the Free State are badly affected. We know the areas of the Eastern Cape are badly affected. So we have data, scientific data, that tells us where are the areas that we need to give more attention to. That's why the Minister of Health is also deploying the recent medical doctors and specialists we received to come and assist us from Cuba. He is deploying all these medical experts on the basis of which areas has the most need. Therefore, we have answered your question because as the South African government, every death, even of a black person, of a white person, of any person, is one death too many. Thank you very much. Who wants to now answer the other questions?
Chair, I'm going to ask Ukoni to respond to the psychosocial work that we are doing and the figures that we indicated, because Connie, can you please come through and then I will deal with the other issue. Connie is the one also who represents the department in the net joints.
Good afternoon. I'll be dealing with the question that was raised on the number of teams. Yes, we do have teams at the district level, and those teams consist of social workers that have been trained on trauma counseling. So basically the support they provide is counseling and reunification from those that have been from quarantine sites. One good example is for South Africans who have come back from Wuhan, who will be in Limpopo. The very social workers were able to reunificate them with their families. So they continuously provide counseling and they get information from the Department of Health because they work with health on the ground. But also to indicate that they are not part of the tracing teams. Health has got their own tracing teams that they are using. Social workers are getting referrals from health in terms of this particular family requires your intervention in terms of further counseling, but also people on their own, they do consult our social workers. Hence, we are almost at above 10,000 counseling sessions that have been conducted with individuals. Thank you, Minister.
I think with regard to the question relating to ukusebenzisa ulwimi lethu esilujwayele, ngiyazi vele kubhlungu ngoba abantu bahlele emakhaya nje bayazibuza uba uLindiwe ukwitiza uthini la ekhona khona. But I know that through GCIS we've got a program of reaching out to more than 60 community radio stations. We will be able to do that, and sike sayenza lento before ngiyenza no CEO weSASSA. Sizama ukuthi njeke if bokuya ngami bengavele ngisukume ngikhulume nje isiZulu ngiqede ngihambe, but ke niyazi ukuthi there are 11 official languages. 13. Okay. Local languages esinazo eSouth Africa. Siyathembisa kulabo abangasizwanga ukuthi sithini. uCEO weSASSA uzoqhubeka nomsebenzi eloke chaza ikakhulukazi kule criteria ukuthi obani abazothola lo 350 nokunye ke esizokhuluma sizozama ukuthi siyenze amalungiselelo ne GCIS sikwazi ukukhuluma nabantu. But ke namhlanje ilanga lokuqala lapho sizama khona ukuchaza ukuthi yini le esikhuluma ngayo. As amalanga eqhubeka siloku sithola nesystem right nendlela right ukuthi sazise abantu, sizozama ukuthi sikhulume ngaso sonke isikhathi. Mina ke we normally have ama TV interviews, radio interviews. Ukhona uShalini ongigijimisayo at all times engixhumanisa nalabo abafuna ama interviews kusukela namhlanje nje sizozama by all means ukuthi siqhubeke ukuchaza lo msebenzi esiwenzayo. Into engingafuna ukuyenza okwamanje ukuthi sikhulume kakhulu especially ngale ndaba ye 350 until such time that is very clear ukuthi system yethu sizoyisebenzisa yile, indlela esizosebenza ngayo yile, kodwa sifuna ukunazisa nje ukuthi lo 350 njengoba upresident awu announce usenjalo awuzushintsha. Ke batla gore ke tsebise ma South Africa kaofela those who are going to get the 350 gore ha re fetsa ka di system tsa rena, ha re se di tseba hantle gore how are we going to allow gore batho ba kgone apply for chelete, re tla ntse re communicate to yourself gore how are you going to do that. So it's not a beginning and the end today. Today is the beginning of many explanations that we continue to have. And Minister Mthembu is always pushing on us to say, you have to communicate with the people, you have to communicate with the people. We will continue to do that. Ukhoni, who was here, ezamuchaza ngale psychosocial assistance. Lento le enye yezinye izinto khona engicabanga ukuthi kusazofuneka ukuthi abantu sibajwayeze ukuthi mabefuna uncedo bangacabangi ukuthi makuthiwa sikhuluma nge-psychosocial sicabanga ukuthi abantu sebayagula or anything of that sort. Sonke siyabantu la ngaleso sikhathi sisithola ukuthi sisengxakini enkulu, kuyafuneka ukuthi uncedo silithole, and upresident washo wathi kithi si-Department of Social Development ufuna si expande or siqhashe o social worker abaningi ngokuya kwethu nje ngokubona kwethu nongihlale ngibheka ukuthi eCuba for instance each and every street uthola ukuthi kunodokotela, abantu akufuneka ngabahambe i-distance ende bayofunana nodokotela. Even nale ndaba yama social workers sizama ngakho konke esingakwenza ukuthi even in future abantu bathole uncedo long before kuba ne problem emakhaya. Okugcina ngifuna ukucela ikakhulukazi le ndaba leye gender based violence nangendlela abanye omama namantombazana nosisi baphethwe ngakhona, siyacela ukuthi ama community kufuneka ame ngeenyawo asincedise. Yekani ukuthula noma nizwa next door ukuthi umuntu uyakhala, yekani ukuthula noma nibona ukuthi abantwana emakhaya bayahlukunyezwa. Umsebenzi wenu ukuthi nisukume nisho nisincede ngoba we are building a better South Africa, and in the process of building that better South Africa, it's not about the South Africa as in the physical, it is also about the South African who has to inhabit it, and that South African is a South African that we are trying, whose life must change, and it can only change if we work together. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I'll answer one question that was aimed at me and therefore close the session. The question had to do with mortgage payments. What is government doing to influence the banks or try to urge the banks towards ensuring that mortgage repayments are attended to in this particular period? I do know that the big four banks have reached out to their clients to say that they are able to offer relief either in the repayment of their mortgages or in assisting them in any way that they can in the kind of endeavors that they'll be taking up or running of businesses. We will be coming back, as we've indicated. We come on a regular basis to brief you. I've probably been here more times than I can count on my fingers, but we will attend to this one and actually explain to you how it is possible for you to go to a bank and negotiate a repayment holiday for your mortgage. And we will be very specific about the brackets that are available and what packages that our banks are providing us. Mr. Jackson Tembu and the rest of you as the chair of the social cluster, I must thank all of those who contributed to ensure that today we are able to unpack the social relief announced by the President. For the first time, members of the cluster are not here, they're not all here available, but for the first time, they were in full attendance. There were 24 to 28 of them on a regular basis. We ran for 2 days trying to unpack what it is that was going to be said today. Now, the people who are responsible for the real package themselves would often tear their hair out. So if you look around and find somebody wearing a hat, you can be quite certain those are the people who were tearing their hair out. It's not, there's one at the back there, and there's one here. But for those who assisted to make sure that we are here today to unpack this mammoth task of exactly what did the president mean, thank you very much. And also through to you, Mr. Mtembu, Minister Mtembu, thank you for allowing us this particular opportunity, because it was a nightmare. The first day was a nightmare, a complete nightmare. The second day was an even bigger nightmare. By yesterday, Lindy and I had agreed that the nightmare had to end. We're here now, and we're hoping that the message that has been sent out to all of you has been understood. And we do have toll-free number. Lindy, can you repeat it for us, please? We do have a toll-free number for those social workers who are assisting the department that can be reached, and the number is 0600 123 456. That's the easiest thing.
But I think we need the number for gender-based violence also, Connie. That one is a number that we have to consistently keep giving.
And for those who are affected by the scourge in our society, where women are abused on a regular basis and numbers grow incrementally as indicated by the Minister of Police, please do not hesitate to phone this number. And the number is, Totsi, sorry?
0800
0800
428
428
428.
428. 0800 428 428. 428 428. 0800 428 428. Please make sure that you are out there supporting women who are living in difficult conditions. And to all of you who've taken time to be with us, thank you very much. We hope to use you and your radio stations to put out the message out there and unpack what the president has provided. In case you're wondering what anybody's wondering about the 250, what it is for, Minister has taken time to make sure that you understand. For the military veterans who've been SMSing everybody, Minister has indicated that she is going to attend to you and everybody else. If there's anything we've missed out, we will keep coming back to fill you in and make sure that by the time we are done with COVID-19, all of us are at one understanding what government is putting out there to make sure that life is made better for each one of you. Thank you so much.
With that, before we end again, to all our viewers at home, we really appreciate that you have been with us for 2 hours now for very good reasons, because our job is to keep you informed. We had made an announcement earlier that there will be another press briefing at 18 hours at 6 o'clock, where Minister Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma and the team will release the regulations that introduce the risk-adjusted approach, or level 4. Can we, with humility, request that we take forward a bit this release of these regulations to 7:30. As we will all know, there was a meeting today of the Coronavirus National Command Council, and that meeting only ended now. So there is a lot of work that the minister and her team still need to do on the regulations. But at 7:30, we will be here. Today still, not tomorrow morning. 7:30 this evening. We will be here where the Minister of COGTA, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, will then download what are the regulations that will guide us as we introduce level 4 of the lockdown on Friday. As the lockdown kicks in on Friday, what are the regulations that will apply? So we said 6 o'clock, but now the press briefing is now at 7:30. Having said that, we would like to sibonge bonke abasemakhaya, sibonge neintatheli for again beaming this SABC, the ENCA, News Africa, all of these channels and all the radio stations, by the way, for just being there to be a conduit of this voice of government. We really appreciate this. Community radio stations, as the minister has said, we have 65 that are tuned in as we speak now. But of course, we will continue to interact with many of our radio stations in their own languages. Sibonga kakhulu ke emakhaya. The new COVID relief, distress relief grant is still new. Therefore, all of us must expect that with time, but before the 15th, we can assure you that we will all be having clarity, even on those who do not have banking accounts. Nobody will be left out. Anybody who's deserving will not be left out. We will find ways and means as government of ensuring that all people who fit the criteria that the minister spoke to, that indeed are not left out of this well-deserved relief package. We would not like to see our people hungry, without food. This is our little attempt at ensuring that our people don't go hungry. Even the increases in the various social grants category speaks to one issue and one issue only, that our people must not be without food. Our people must not be hungry. And that's what we are trying to do. Similarly, the 350 speaks to that as well, that our people, the people of South Africa, must not be without food and they must not be hungry. Having said that, thank you very much for having been with us for the past 2 hours. We will keep on updating you. At 7:30, it's COGTA, and tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, it's education. Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Colleagues and everybody else, Minister Zulu, Minister Sisulu, thank you very much, colleagues, and to the various leaders of our entities, SASA and others, thank you very much for making yourselves available to be here and lead us in our administrative arm of government. We appreciate your presence here. With that said, thank you very much to all people at home. Let's continue to stay at home. Let's continue to be safe. Let's continue to keep South Africa safe. Thank you very much.
And thank all these ones who are here from our departments.
I thank them.